Coming at you from Bellingham, Washington. This is Two Nuts in the Sack. I'm Julie.
And I'm Gavin. Have you ever woken from sleep only to find that you were unable to move or make a sound? All other facets are available. You can see, you can hear, you can feel, but try as you might, you cannot move or make a sound, as if a giant lead blanket were placed over your body, pressing you down into the bed, stifling your breath so you cannot call out for help. If so, you're among the 15% of the world's population to experience sleep paralysis. Science has explained this phenomenon as an interruption in REM sleep, either falling into or emerging from the deep sleep. During this stage, the brain paralyzes the body, releasing chemicals that prevent you from acting out your dreams. It is a safeguard to protect you from harm. Or is it? Tonight, we're going to talk about the supernatural side of this frightening phenomenon. It's known as the Old Hag Syndrome in American culture. The Old Hag is a supernatural being that sits upon the chest of its victims, paralyzing, stifling the screams and cries for help, siphoning the life force of its victims, sometimes until death. Nearly every culture in the world has some version of this story. Perhaps it's just a story. Perhaps the scientific explanation is right. Sit back, relax, and enjoy our exploration of the Old Hag Syndrome.
The picture for our YouTube podcast is of a 1781 oil painting by artist Henry Fuseli. It shows a woman in deep sleep with her arms thrown below her and with a demonic and ape-like incubus crouched on her chest. A haunting and dreamlike erotic evocation of infatuation and obsession. It was a very popular success after its first exhibition at the 1782 Royal Academy of London. Critics and other patrons reacted with horrified fascination. Interpretations varied. The painting portrays a dreaming woman having a nightmare. The incubus and horse's head refer to contemporary belief and folklore about nightmares, but have been attributed to more specific meanings by some theorists. Critics were taken aback by the sexuality of the painting, since interpreted by scholars as anticipating Jungian ideas about the unconsciousness.
Now, scientifically speaking, sleep paralysis, sleep terrors, sleep talking, and sleepwalking are considered to be the behavioral manifestation of partial arousals from sleep, known as parasomnias. Though more common in children, parasomnias can occur at any age. When we sleep, our brain cycles between wakefulness, non-rapid eye movement, NREM sleep, and rapid eye movement, REM sleep. Most of our sleep is spent in NREM. It is divided into 4 stages. Stage 1 is the transitional stage from wake to sleep, basically the falling asleep part. Stage 2 makes up most of the sleep period. Stages 3 and 4 typically occur in the first half of the night, during which it takes a lot more to wake up the sleeper. Parasomnias occur when transitions between these stages are blurred. This happens most commonly between stages 3 and 4 and the awake state, which causes the behaviors that lack the complete awareness and mentation associated with wakefulness. Basically, parts of the brain wake up before parts of the body are ready.
So freaky.
Sleep paralysis in particular is associated with REM cycles. Sleep paralysis occurs when the brain is in REM sleep. Sleeping is the body's way of repairing itself, both physically and mentally. NREM sleep accounts for about 80% of your sleep cycle. During this time, muscles relax and repair, breathing slows, heart rate drops, a flood of hormones wash through the body, growing and repairing tissues throughout. REM sleep accounts for the remaining 20% of the sleep cycle. This is when your brain has time to exercise at night. During the REM phase of sleep, the body releases a different flood of hormones, which paralyze the voluntary muscles in the body. It's a safety mechanism to protect the body as the mind wanders through dreamland. It would really suck if your superhero dream started with you soaring into the air in full Superman fashion and then end up ass over tea kettle, face planted firmly on the floor. So your brain protects you by paralyzing the body. And that is the most basic scientific explanation for sleep paralysis. Because your body is still technically asleep and your brain is waking up, this might also account for some auditory and visual hallucinations. Seems reasonable, but what is not accounted for is the similarity in stories of sleep paralysis victims all over the world and all throughout recorded history. Though some of the details and characteristics of the Old Hag attacks vary somewhat across cultures and centuries, millennia even, there are common threads that occur in a majority of the incidents. The victim is awakened abruptly, the feeling of an oppressive weight upon their chest. The victim tries to move, struggle, cry out for help, all for nothing. The attack ends as the victim is on the verge of losing consciousness. The victim fully awakens, but feels drained for a prolonged period of time. Many begin with the sounds of footsteps approaching the bed. Monstrous shapes, shadowy figures, and sometimes with glowing red eyes. Acrid, sulfurous aromas accompanied by rasping breaths coming from the dark shape, giving the victim the feeling that there is something dark and sinister and downright evil in their room.
I interviewed a mental health counselor on the Old Hag Syndrome, Katie Gray Landham. She informed me that there were two different groups of people. Some experienced the Old Hag multiple times, and for others it was a one-time experience. Most of her clients were all young, early 20s. They would awake during the night feeling an evil presence, with a feeling that something was on their chest and they were unable to talk. To some, it looked like a person was on their chest. Katie said to her sister it looked like a gargoyle. She also informed me that all her clients felt an evil presence before they could visibly see the person or creature in the room. She explains that having religion and being non-religious gave different experience for her clients. With non-religious, the experience of the Old Hag lingered and didn't go away. The people that were religious and called out for Mary or Jesus were able to cast out the evil away immediately. Katie's patients said that the Old Hag encounter was the most terrifying experience that they had ever been through. Each person said the same thing. Something evil was walking on their beds. Miss Landham explained that for some it was a one-time event, and for others it came in clusters. She talked about how these clients really ranged across the board in education and life experience, and that they were all very intelligent people. As I said before, all were in their 20s, but they all had very different interests. All the clients saw and felt an evil presence, saw and felt someone walking around the bed, and couldn't find words to say and had no voice, and all would see either a creature or some sort of human figure. Much like what we're about to dive into with the folklore struck worldwide, you will hear multiple evil twists and turns of this nightmare, the Old Hag. All countries throughout the world have experienced the Old Hag Syndrome in some way. Various cultures have various names for this phenomenon. Most seem to experience it in the same way, though.
In Scandinavian folklore, the hag is known as a mare, a supernatural being akin to an incubus or succubus, evil, mischievous spirits. A mare is a damned woman whose curse is to be carried in her sleep by an unknown force. She visits villagers and sits on their rib cage while they sleep, causing vicious nightmares. In fact, this version of the hag is the root of the word nightmare.
In Cambodian and Thai culture, it is described as an event which the person is sleeping and dreams that one or more ghostly figures are nearby or even holding him or her down. The sufferer is unable to move or make any noises. In Pakistan, sleep paralysis is considered an encounter with Satan, evil jinns, or demons who have taken over one's body. Or it is also assumed that it is caused by black magic performed by enemies and jealous persons. People, especially children and young girls, wear tawiz, an amulet, to ward off the evil eye. Spells, incantations, and curses could also result in ghosts haunting a person. Some homes and places are also believed to haunted by evil ghosts, satanic or other supernatural beings, and they could haunt people living there, especially during the night.
In Turkish culture, the phenomenon is called karabasan. In this folklore, the culprit is known to be a jinn. Quick note on jinn. They are the precursors to what today we commonly call genies, creatures that were born with free will and magical powers. In Dungeons and Dragons terms, they are chaotic neutral demons. Their good and evil meter is determined by their acceptance of God's guidance. Neither good nor evil by nature, they became a scapegoat for good or evil in Islamic folklore. Capable of misfortune, possession, disease, and pestilence. Oppositely, they can be supportive and benevolent. Mentioned frequently in Islamic traditions, they are summoned and bound to a sorcerer. Ergo, the jinn is controlled by an outside force. So this jinn comes into a person's room, an oppressive force cements the victim to their bed and starts to strangle them. To rid themselves of the creature, one needs simply to pray to Allah. In some derivatives of the story, the jinn is wearing a wide-brimmed hat. Were one brave enough or able to snatch the hat from the jinn's head, that jinn would become their slave.
In folklore across Arab countries, the Jafum is believed to be a shaitan of an ifrit sitting on top of the person or is also choking them. It is said that it can be prevented by sleeping on your right side and reading the throne's verse of the Quran, the Islamic Bible. In Pakistan culture, it is known as kapasa. It is believed that it is a ghost without thumbs. The ghost tries to suffocate you by pressing your throat and sitting on your chest. Since the ghost has no thumbs, it can't effectively suffocate its victims.
In Hmong culture, the phenomenon is attributed to a nocturnal spirit known as Dab Sog, sometimes strangling their victims. It is believed Dab Sog is responsible for sudden, unexpected nocturnal death syndrome. Basically, SIDS for adult.
That is creepy as shit.
Yeah.
In Egypt, it is believed to be an evil African queen's ghost that is haunting souls which she is trying to capture before being chased off by guardian spirits. In Zimbabwean Shona culture, the word Madzikirina, I can't pronounce this.
Madzikirira.
Thank you, Gavin, is used to refer to something strongly pressing one down. This mostly refers to the spiritual world in which some spirits, especially an evil one, tries to use its victim for some evil purpose. The people believe that witches can only be people of close relations to be effective, and hence a witch often tries to use one spirit to bewitch one's relatives.
Also in Africa is an island chain off the coast of Zanzibar or Tanzania, which is home to one of the most recent cases recorded through scientific method. Pemba Island, to be specific. In 1965, a creature was thought to plague the islanders, known to locals as Papabawa. It's fun to say. Say with me, baby. Papabawa.
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 Literally translated as batwing. The Papabawa is allegedly a shapeshifter. It can take on human or animal form. Seen in both day and night, sometimes associated with the smell of sulfur. Papabawa can attack man, woman, or child, and at times it attacks an entire household. The attacks can be simple yet horrifying physical assault and or poltergeist-like phenomena. But most feared are the attacks a la Doris Bither from our last episode, sexual assault, most explicitly sodomy of both men and women.
That's so gross.
During panics, the people of Pemba Island and the surrounding areas will spend their nights awake and outside their homes, huddled in groups around an open fire. Safety in numbers. Victims are urged to tell the others when they have been assaulted. The last such Papabawa panic occurred in 2007, but flare-ups occurred sporadically since the 60s, nearly every 10 years, just enough to keep the legend alive.
In Catalonia, it is an enormous dog or cat that goes into people's houses in the night and puts itself on their chests, making it difficult for them to breathe and causing them the most horrible nightmares. The Pasanta is black and hairy with steel paws, but with holes so it can't take anything. You'll never think of animals the same way, Gavin.
Most definitely. I'm looking at you, Rolly, down there on the corner of the bed.
Our house cow, kitty cat.
Side-eye to the house cow, kitty cat.
In America, during the Salem witch trial, several people reported nighttime attacks by various alleged witches, including Bridget Bishops, that may have been caused by sleep paralysis.
These cultural folk stories are scary enough, but there are many witness stories that will cause you to question whether or not the old hag is real or not. Julie, I believe you have an example.
I've got a story for you, Gavin. You want to hear it?
Most definitely.
Here is a fairly typical example of an old hag experience from a reader named Emily. When I was about 9 or 10, I'm 17 now, I woke up and couldn't move at all. When I opened my eyes, I saw like a shadow thing about a foot away from my face in the shape of a head. When I saw that, I was scared to death. I tried calling my mom. I tried screaming, but barely anything would come out. It lasted what felt like a few minutes, and I guess I fell asleep. I never thought much about it after that because I just thought my mind was playing tricks on me or something. About 3 months ago, I was sleeping and then I woke up like something whispering in my ear. It was a male voice, and I opened my eyes and I was really scared because there are no males in my house and I couldn't move at all.
That makes it extra scary.
Yeah, absolutely. I tried really hard to move and called for my mom, and when I finally could move, I got up really fast, saw a shadow figure that looked like a male kneeling on one knee next to my bed. I was pretty freaked out, but I just decided to go back to sleep. Then I was awoken again by the same whispering and couldn't move again. And so I tried even harder to call for my mom. After a few tries, it was finally loud enough because she was just in the next room. I told her what happened, and she believed me and just told me I must be dreaming or something.
That is a horrific experience for that little valley girl.
Yeah, I feel so bad for her, but she's like this dude was like whispering in like my ear. Like on his knees. Like, what do you want?
Well, I've got like 3 more like really scary stories. Do you want to hear some like really scary stories?
Absolutely. You know I always love them.
Okay, this one is called The Black-Eyed Hag. It happened for the first time when I was 14. I couldn't move, didn't understand what it was. My most prominent time having to experience sleep paralysis was last year while lying in bed. I fell asleep pretty quick, but then woke up with the pressure of a hand on my right shoulder. When I could turn around, I saw the old hag. She had long, craggy gray hair, a pale greenish face, a long nose, and creepiest of all, Her eyes were all black.
Oh my god.
She smiled at me, then took off. That's when I snapped out of paralysis. That's from Ohio S5. Want some more?
Yes.
Okay. This one comes from a different person called Evil Generates From Her.
That doesn't sound good.
I'm 42 and first had a nightmare about a terrifying witch at the age of 16. She kneels on my chest, stares into my face, slowly getting nearer and nearer. I'm completely terrified. She wears a black cloak and hood. Her face is like a witch, and evil generates from her. Surrounds me from her. Other times I can be lying on my stomach, and she will creep her hand up the back of my head, down my face, and hook her fingers under my top teeth and pull my head back.
Jesus.
Other times she will bite, sit on the bed, knock the door, call my name, generally scare the crap out of me. How can anyone explain this? This is from Jane.Owen.
Wow, these just keep moving up the scale and being scarier and scarier.
That's kind of the idea. But the similarity is what makes it even creepier.
Absolutely.
Well, it gets stranger still.
I'm not letting the cat lay on top of my chest anymore.
This next one is called She Strangled My Girlfriend.
Okay.
I was awakened by a screaming girlfriend. She had her arms up as if she was pushing on something. Her eyes were open as if she was awake. I called her name a few times and tried to shake her awake. Then her eyes closed and she went back to sleep. When I woke her up again, she told me she was fighting an old lady that was trying to strangle her. Last night, I was awakened by something. I had no idea what it was, but I had this strong feeling telling me I should turn around and look at my girlfriend. As I turned around, I saw what looked like an old person's face moving away from me. At that exact moment, my girlfriend let out a small scream and then went back to sleep. So did I.
How could you go back to sleep after that?
This morning, when we woke up, the first thing my girlfriend told me was, I had a dream about that old lady again last night. What are the odds that both of us would see the same person or spirit? And why did it move away from me? Another case of simultaneous experiences was from this reader. In December 2007, my wife and I were sleeping in bed when I knew or felt my wife was being attacked. I woke to find a shadow person on top of her.
Oh my god.
Choking her. I jumped out of bed and shared several French profanities with it. As I moved toward it to confront it, it moved away into the wall.
Dang.
I turned to see my wife still choking and woke her. She stated that she dreamed that she was being choked by a person on top of her.
Wow.
Normally, you would dismiss it. But how do two people have simultaneous experiences? And she would later have a similar experience in the army where her roommate woke to see a person choking her.
That is freaky as fuck.
Yet another. Can you handle it?
I don't know, Gavin. This is getting pretty serious.
My wife and I both saw her is the name of this one.
Okay.
I've had various experiences with sleep paralysis. I've seen my bed covers pushed down to my face. Unable to move or shout. A female voice has hissed in my ear, bringing feelings of terror. Once I saw the old woman looking at me through my bed covers. She was gray and had a menacing grin.
I don't know about you, but the last thing I want in my bed is an old woman.
I started hitting the covers where the misty gray face was staring from. My wife woke up at this point and screamed, saying she saw the woman's face too.
Wow.
I think there is more to it than just the scientific explanation.
There's got to be. I completely believe this. Like, I believe in this phenomenon, this whole thing.
I think it's part physical and part supernatural.
It's very supernatural.
I think our brains pick up on a more expansive signal when we are between sleep and an awake state.
It is some type of evil spirit or evil demon. It is something not of this earth.
Yeah. There's got to be something to it. I mean, I get the scientific explanation for it, but why do people all over the world experience?
No, there is an evil, unseen force attacking people.
This one is from a particular idiot. It says, nose to nose with the hag. I have been trying for about a year to induce sleep paralysis as a gateway to lucid dreaming. I heard about this phenomenon, but I never experienced it. Tonight was the first occurrence. I did as I always do, lie still on my back, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the numbness to begin. It doesn't. Instead, all the noise outside my window stops, as though someone muted the outside world. I blink, and it's there, on my ceiling. It just kind of floated downward, dragging its fingers down the wall as it did. The sound was sickening. It stopped when it was nose to nose with me. Put its other hands, it had 3 arms, on my chest. And just stayed there, staring at me. Its eyes glowed, cycling from fluorescent purple to an almost arterial red. Then, someone in the room next to me dropped something, and it just levitated upward into the ceiling. Its face was the last to melt away.
Jesus. Time to call for a priest.
And that's all we have for the Old Hag Syndrome. A horrifying phenomena that has occurred throughout recorded history and continues to plague the world today. There are scientific explanations for sleep paralysis, but they do not account for the shared hallucinations of the victims. Many have not even heard of the old hag, yet their encounters are unnervingly similar. As we've said before, if even one of these stories is true, it is enough to make the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end when you're going to sleep or as you emerge from dreamland. And if that ain't a kick in the sack, I don't know what is.
All right, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed our podcast. And we love doing this, and we will continue to keep popping these podcasts out. Please take a peek at our Facebook page, Twonutsinthesack. We put all our podcasts there. It has lots of funny memes. Give it a like. And please go to our YouTube channel, like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think. What do you want to hear from us?
Because without your words, we don't know what to do. We're running out of stuff. So please, let us know what you want to hear about, and we'll see what we can do about it. Good night, everybody. Sleep tight.